Back in about 2015, I had a very interesting conversation with an individual claiming to be a Valve employee, and this person talked for weeks. And while it's never truly been confirmed that this person was telling the truth, a lot of what we discussed eventually did end up happening. The biggest thing to come out of this conversation was the post-human Gordon Freeman concept art from a version of Half-Life 3 that was in development from 2013 to 2015. This iteration of the game saw Gordon Freeman have a robotic arm attached to his side. That arm would allow him to effectively control temperature, control fire, control air, control earth. He was effectively the Avatar. This was an Aperture Science piece of machinery, and the first section of the game was actually a portal testing track in order to teach you how to use it. It's never truly been confirmed that this was something that happened. I've had people that I trust try to convince me that there's no evidence of this ever truly being in the game's files. However, it had been speculated that this feature would have leveraged Rubicon, the, at the time, new physics system within Source 2, essentially simulating basic thermodynamics to allow for a level of control over the environments and geometry of the levels that had never been seen before in a Half-Life game. Flash forward to 2024, and we're now waiting for Half-Life 3 again. Only this time, we're almost entirely certain that it is going to happen due to just how far along the game truly is in development. And we've been following HLX for months now, and with each major update to things like Counter-Strike 2 and Deadlock, more features are coming through. And in a recent update to Deadlock, we have finally seen the return of something interesting: surface attributes. Surface attributes are something that have always existed within the Source engine, effectively creating different behaviors for different geometry based on what that geometry is supposed to be simulating. Is that surface concrete or metal or wood? And how should it react to player input? Now, surfaces have new behavior attached to them, such as their flash points or their heat conductivity. What does that mean? Well, a flash point is how hot a material needs to be able to be lit on fire. And heat conductivity is how quickly this material absorbs heat from nearby heat sources. The surface's flash point and heat conductivity can also be affected based on the type of fuel that is attached to the surface. So, for example, if the player were to pour gasoline on a specific surface, its flash point and conductivity would change. And these attributes allow for the destructibility of certain materials and surfaces to change based on how the player interacts with them. This is exactly what that robotic arm was meant to do, and we're seeing it show its head in HLX. So whether or not that 2015 version of Half-Life 3 was real or not, we're seeing those features here. No, Gordon's not gonna have a robotic arm to do all of this, it's just baked into the world itself. But Valve is trying to create a simulation of reality that we have not seen before in any Source engine game, let alone the Half-Life series. These surface properties also tie in to the vehicle simulation that they have been working tirelessly on for years. Depending on the types of surfaces, the drag of the wheel will change based on not only the surface, but the different attributes being attached to that surface through different fluids and temperatures. We have surface attributes for blood, gasoline, soft body contact, grazing with different decals, meaning the decals that are applied to a surface through bullet holes or liquids affects that surface's overall attributes. There are insane amounts of simulation going on here just for surface destruction, geometry destruction, and interactivity between the geometry of the level and the player's own actions. We also have a lot of work being put into hair and lighting, and a huge system in relation to NPC behavior in and out of combat zones, which has completely changed from Half-Life 2 and the Source engine. They're also changing the NPC's behavior based on the held weapon. Those held weapons dynamically change based on what weapons are around. Now, this is basically what already existed in Half-Life 2, however, it takes itself a step further, not only interacting with the NPCs, the enemies, the entities, but the geometry as well. Again, these surface properties not only are affected by the player, but by the NPCs. It's all one big system. It's nearing immersive sim levels of interactivity of in-game systems. A dynamic propagation system for in-game ammo and resources is something that has always existed in Half-Life. For example, in Half-Life Alyx, the type of ammo that the game grants you in crates changes based on the types of weapons that you are using to not only affect the overall difficulty of a specific encounter, but to promote a variety of weapons being used at one time. We have this now, but instead of the contents of a specific box being ammo, it changes what any container can have at any given time, with most of them being empty. But if you're exploring, containers can have anything in them, and it's dynamically changed based on not only the behavior of the player, but the types of surfaces that are around, the environments that exist, and the decisions that the players have made in terms of interacting within these systems. I'm gonna quote the final hours of Half-Life Alyx, something that I'm not entirely happy with the end result of. There's a much larger story that could have been told in relation to the story of development, but this is a very important quote. This is Jeff Keighley saying, quote, "Sitting in a conference room at Valve, David Speyer begins to talk about the genesis of a project which began in 2013 in broad general terms. David Speyer said, quote, "We were working on this single-player game that would use proceduralism in concert with crafted experience to create something played in an open-ended way," end quote. This was Half-Life 3. This is also around the same time that Valve was getting impatient with Source 2, and they started working on proprietary voxel-based systems to allow for more player freedom in not only how they interact with the world, but how the world interacts with them. Now in 2024, we still have people like David Speyer working on HLX, and we're seeing all of these things come together. Between the years of 2021 and 2023, Valve has started to hire people from all over the industry, and much faster than before. Scouting out different designers' LinkedIn pages, we now know that people from id Software, Sucker Punch, Machine Games, Insomniac Games, Naughty Dog are all at Valve now, and these people are artists and level designers almost entirely. We also have former Valve employees that are well known in the community coming back to work on something. For example, do you remember the mod Half-Life Caged? Half-Life Caged was kind of a big deal at the time it came out. Half-Life Caged was a former Valve employee making a Half-Life game after leaving Valve because they didn't have the opportunity to try and experiment within that single-player, linear, first-person shooter environment. Well, that guy came back to Valve. And if you pay attention to a few people that left Valve, for example, this one level designer that worked at Valve Software between 2021 and 2023, they listed on their LinkedIn profile, quote, "Created a variety of prototypes with my team, focused on ambitious, never-before-seen gameplay for an unannounced project. Developed AI, player mechanics, and puzzles from scratch." Another person who was hired in October of 2023 and is still working there today said on their LinkedIn profile, quote, "Color, light, and ink various established characters and backgrounds of diverse settings and locations. Designed lighting to lead the eye to areas of focus and effectively establish mood. Accurately match established styles, lighting, character designs, and locations set by team artists and previous designers." And this all comes back to the person that we talked about in the very first HLX video we made that stated that between 2020 and 2023, they were working on level design, layouts, lighting, combat encounters, and puzzles. People who are predominantly known for single-player experiences are being hired at Valve. Level design, concept design, VFX design. They're all joining Valve at a surprising rate, at a rate never before seen, at least not within the last 15 years. If you don't remember, I said that instead of one massive HLX/HL3 video, I'm going to release smaller ones periodically, because otherwise I would be data mining every day of my life and releasing a video likely after the trailer for the game comes out. These were just some of my findings of the last month and a half. However, I am in the middle of moving, and the time that I could dedicate to data mining and research has been significantly decreased, and that will come to a close when I'm actually fully moved, when my move out date is Halloween of this year, and then I'll be back to work full time, and we're gonna start data mine streams. Do you wanna see me data mine live? I'd love to know, because now that Deadlock is a public thing, I can actually dig through that code publicly without any threat of being in trouble with Valve Legal. So let me know if you want to see the data mining process live on Twitch and YouTube. Tell me in the comments section down below. I'd love to know your opinions of that. If there's anything I can do to make data mining streams more entertaining, again, please let me know. And if you've made it this far in the video, let Valve know what you would like to see Gordon Freeman wield as a weapon. What kind of crazy, out there weapon would you like to see? For me, spoons. Anywho, if you'd like to support these types of videos, get your name in the credits and get to see some of them early, I have a Patreon and Float Plane page. And, you know, if you can support it, it does help the channel out immensely. If not, don't feel bad, but if you'd like to be a part of this community of the channel, my Discord server is down in the description below, and of course my Twitter page is also down there. Feel free to follow. My DMs are open and I try to get to them once a month at least. I will try to message you back if you do message me. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tyler McVicker, the Passionate Gamer. I will see you next time. Peace and air grease. Adios.